Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Bhavad Bhagavatas Tirtha Bhuta Swayam Vibo Tirtha Kurvanti Tirtani Swantakstena Gadabrita. This is a statement by Yudhishthira to Vidura, and he told Mahatma Vidura that you're a place of pilgrimage personified because you carry the Lord in your heart wherever you go. But it's not that the devotee conceals the Lord within his or her heart. But wherever a pure devotee goes, he or she manifests the abode of the Lord. And we have this in the case, we see that the monumental meeting of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Srila Rupa Goswami, whom we spoke about yesterday, and Srila Sanatana Goswami. And ripe for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy, is the most exalted of personalities in this world who come as eternal associates to represent the Lord. It's eternal principle, tat priyartam, that when the Lord comes, he doesn't come alone, but he comes with his associates. And just to give benefit to the whole world. In this dark material world, people are hapless because they have no way to find their way out of this, as Socrates put, the cave of material existence, where they're facing towards the back wall. There's fires behind them and they only see shadows on the wall and they take it as reality. So Srila Sanatana Goswami's meeting with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was predicated by his escaping from jail and coming to see Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who greeted him at the home of Chandrasekhar. And Mahaprabhu embraced him, much to the surprise of the devotees there, because he looked like a Muslim mendicant and no one knew who he was yet. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then brought him close, and Chandrasekhar made sure that he was cleaned up. He got a shave. He gave away the blanket that he had received from his brother-in-law on the journey to see Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And it's mentioned in that section of the Chaitanya Charitamrita that when Sanatana Goswami had been traveling, he happened to meet a relative who gave him an expensive chadar. And when he came to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he had it, and he noticed, did Sanatana Goswami, that even after he had shaved, after long travels and started to look like a gentleman, the Mahaprabhu was still glancing at his chadar. And without receiving a direct instruction, this is the first class disciple, he gets a glance, he can intuit, oh yeah, I better get rid of that. He went down to the river where people wash their clothes, and he traded for an old blanket. In fact, the person whose blanket he traded for thought that Sanatan was joking with him, making fun of him, saying, I'll trade you this for that, because the one that Sanatan had was extremely valuable. In any case, he told him he was serious, and he came back with a much less valuable chadar, And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is unlimitedly pleased to see his sense of renunciation. And he said that when a doctor gives a prescription and a patient is starting to improve, the doctor makes sure that all the disease is gone. And in that context, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then sat with Sanatana Goswami, who would have liked to be in the room to hear that conversation. 2 people. Okay, a few more. But we have that benefit by the mercy of Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami through his pen. We're actually, we can sit anywhere. You can be in New Zealand, Australia, and New York City, and then transport yourself to the room in which Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Sanatana Goswami sat, and you can hear directly from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. You can hear the perfect questions, perfect answers. And Sanatana Goswami, as mentioned in the dialogue, had asked Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, I don't even know what to ask. I'm so fallen and in need of your mercy that what should I ask? I don't even know who I am. He said, people call me a learned person. He spoke many languages. He was highly capable in all possible ways. But he said, I need your guidance. Who am I? And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told him, you're an eternal servant of Krishna. And your position is that you're Tatastha Shakti. And it is mentioned there in the Chaitanya Charitamrita that Sanatana Goswami asked such a simple question out of strictness. And this is a curious comment there. It is a way in which a person on the spiritual path is not presumptuous. It's a standard process for those who want to advance in devotional service to assume, I know nothing, and therefore please tell me, starting with who am I? The philosophy of Kṛṣṇa consciousness. Vidura similarly asks very basic questions to Maitreya. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu held forth there for many days teaching Sanatana Goswami, beginning with explaining to him the eternal position of the soul in relationship with Krishna, how Krishna manifests the world, and he talked about the different expansions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Prabhava, Vaibhava expansions, Tadikatma Rupa. This philosophical discourse of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is so satisfying because oftentimes when people discuss God or the topic, any theistic topic, there's a lack of information, and Prabhupada writes in his purport to the invocation of Sri Upanishad that all forms of incompleteness are experienced due to incomplete knowledge of the complete whole. But in this dialogue with Srila Sanatana Goswami, we don't sense incompleteness. There are details about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, his manifestations, and the existential situation of the soul. Given Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gives all these details. What's more, he quotes directly from Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam. He quoted verses that we're familiar with. It feels satisfying to hear, although we have Bhagavad Gita, we read it, and then when we hear it repeated through the lotus mouth of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and we feel that, yes, we're being perfectly guided. For instance, in his discourse with Sanatana Goswami, he quoted Daivahi Esha Gunamayi Mama Maya Duratyaya Mamevaye Prapadyante Mayametam Tarantite. Simple verses from the Bhagavad Gita, but it holds the key to our success in life. That we're in a situation that is inescapable, but only by surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead can we attain perfection. And Sanatana Goswami also quoted from the Srimad Bhagavatam, explaining what is the conundrum of the living entity in this world. Bhayam dvitiya abhinibeshatasya ishara betasya viparya yosmriti tanmaya to buddha abhajatan bhaktyayke yesham gurudeva tatma. He told Sanatana Goswami that because the soul, who's tatastha, is absorbed in the lower energy, the material energy, and has forgotten his orientation as an eternal servant of Krishna, he's turned around from his real interest, apratihatā. And his intelligence has become opposite of what it should be. Instead of being a servitor of Krishna, he's become a competitor. And he says that abhinibeshatasya, we're completely absorbed in the idea of enjoying the material world. So he says, Tanmaya tat buddha abhajatam bhaktyayka yesham gurudeva tatma. He told Sanatana Goswami from the Srimad Bhagavatam that the solution is to reconnect with Krishna through the Guru Parampara and give one's one-pointed attention to the process of devotional service. So Srila Sanatana Goswami received these divine teachings from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and his mission as given to him was to come to Vrindavan and to explicate the process of devotional service. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally taught him the etiquette of devotional service, through which Sanatana Goswami wrote the Hari Bhakti Vilas. He also wrote the Brihat Bhagavatamrita and gave commentary to the Srimad Bhagavatam. And he came here to Vrindavan, and whenever I see this, the profile of this temple, it's iconic. You can see it from far away. It's always a reminder of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's influence in bringing Vrindavan to light through his disciples, the six Goswamis, and specifically Srila Sanatana Goswami, Srila Rupa Goswami, Sri Jiva Goswami. We'll go to Radha Damodar soon. And this temple, the story is that Sanatana Goswami was worshipping his deity in a very simple way. And as that Swami yesterday at Terkadamba was saying, there were no buildings in Vrindavan, no infrastructure, it was all forest. And Srila Prabhupada comments how Sanatana Goswami kept his Manan Gopal, his Manan Mohan deity in a tree. And because he lived so simply, just lived by Madhukari, he would bring some simple chapatis, rotis. And one day, said Prabhupada, this Madan Mohan deity asked him, could you at least bring a little salt? And to which Prabhupada said, Sanatana Goswami replied, well, now if you're going to ask for salt, which is not so easy to procure, and it wasn't, then you might start asking for all kinds of other things. And what can I provide for you here? I'm just simple mendicant. Please just be satisfied with what I offer. Prabhupada explains it in that mood, that he had that kind of intimate relationship with his deity. And then story continues in a way in which there was a thoroughfare here for shipping down the Jamuna, and a merchant who was bringing a load of salt to market At that time, spices were extremely valuable. In fact, things like salt, pepper were worth their weight in gold. Little known fact. That's why some European explorers were actually looking for a route to India to get more spices to bring back to Europe, because people just ate bland food all the time. They didn't have anything. And they ran into the Bahamas and then discovered America and so forth. So it's not far-fetched, the story that the salt merchant had been caught in a sandbar and his whole shipment could have been lost. He came frantically looking for help, and he met the sadhu, Sanatana Goswami, sitting here. And Sanatana Goswami said, I'll pray to my deity, Madan Mohan, to help you. And through some miracle, the ship was released, and the ship captain said, if I get out of this one, I'm going to come back here and build you a temple. So the story was that he had, by Sanatana Goswami's direction and mercy, and Madan Mohan's mercy, he had freed his ship, he had been successful in his commerce, and he came back here and built this temple. It's no small task. If you look at the sublimity of the architecture here, it's quite amazing. And you can imagine in pre-industrial times and what it would take to get all the ingredients to build this. So it's a marvel. And it stands as a monument to the expression of pure love the devotee has within his or her heart. It manifests outwardly. So our Kṛṣṇa Consciousness Movement really is an internal process. We cannot simply build an institution or legislate pure devotional service. It has to arise in the heart by association with those who are fully dedicated. Ahaituki, apratihatā, devotional service with no material motivation and that is uninterrupted. And one who can develop that in the association of other pure devotees by hearing and chanting, then has the wherewithal to create facility for more and more people to come to Kṛṣṇa consciousness. That's why we come to this iconic point. Especially I like sitting up here and just remembering where everything comes from. All our good fortune comes from the great Vaiṣṇavas who before us have thought in terms of giving us facility to walk the same path. And just one of my favorite verses, which is given by the demigods to Lord Krishna within the womb, which they remind us that the path is to follow behind these great souls. Swayambhu jaksha kila sattvadamni samadhina veshita chetasaike twatpada potena mahatkritena kurvanti kovatsapadam bhavabdim. That the great souls like Sanatana Goswami show the path. They make it so they can follow the path, but they leave it behind them, the codification of devotional service. So it's not just a tangle of ideas, but it's a tangible process. Twatpada potena mahatkritena. And if we follow the mahats, the great souls, then kurvanti govatsapadam bhavabdin, then the process becomes doable. And in fact, in this almost fantastical expression, the Srimad Bhagavatam, or the demigods, say that the ocean of material existence is no match for the mahats. And if we follow them, then the ocean shrinks. And we can step over it because of the process they leave behind. So 18 Thakur Godeyaki Karayachina Atmasat, 18 Enercharan Vandon Tine Moranat. Our Gaudiya process is to follow step by step in the footsteps of the Goswamis. Srila Sanatana Goswami brought us Srila Madan Mohan Vigraha, Radha Madan Mohan, which means that it's not possible to escape from the material world. Nobody can do it. unless we get the mercy of Shri Shri Radha Madan Mohan, because Madan, the attraction to the material world, is inescapable. Every species of life has an attraction for this for the manifestation of the material world. It seems all attractive and it seems like a good idea at the time, but it's not. And everyone's absorbed in it, and no matter how you try to organize your life, you can't escape it. Attraction, male, female, the yin and yang of the world. We're caught in it. The only escape is to become attracted to Krishna, and he comes specifically as Shri Shri Radha Madan Mohan Vigraha to attract our attention. And there is a way in which, when we render service based on the process given by Srila Sanatana Goswami through Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to the deity, Shri Shri Radha Madan Mohan, our heart will change and will become attracted to Krishna. And Krishna says very simply in the Bhagavad Gita, Vishaya vinivartante nirahara sadehina rasavarjam rasopyasya parandrishva nivartate. We'll have such an attraction that the material world then becomes clearly a lost cause for us, or a place that is just an afterthought. In fact, we notice, even as we perform our devotional practices now, for instance, if we go to a festival where we're engaged in service, like Janmashtami, serving for 3 days, hearing and chanting, taking prasadam with devotees, or Rath Yatra. If you've been to a Rath Yatra festival where you're engaged in service and the pageantry of the festival, and you can hear only Hare Krishna, even if you're in the middle of a big city in Los Angeles, New York, Chicago, Auckland. Is there one in Auckland? Someplace. Yes. When you walk away from that festival, you may notice, oh, the material world's still going on. We see people walking down the street, or we see a sign advertising a movie or some alcohol for people to drink to drown their sorrows. They think, oh, this is still going on, because we become lost in the internal energy, and that can become pronounced and acute in our lives, that by worshiping Shri Shri Radha Madan Mohan, the heart will soften and will become fully attached. And it's not through detachment from the material world that we're successful. As yogis do that, and then later on they change their mind and they come back. It's only when we become completely entangled in the spiritual world, and someone says, how about this, how about that? And we say, sorry, I'm already entangled elsewhere. I have a better engagement. I can't go with you. And therefore we pray here for Shri Shri Radha Madan Mohan to please relentlessly pursue us and keep our minds and hearts attached to their lotus feet. And we thank Srila Sanatana Goswami for giving us the clear pathway in devotional service. And now I'll ask His Grace Vaiṣṇavas Prabhu to give us his kind realizations.
Thank you, Vaisesika Prabhu. Om Ajnanati Mirandasya Jnananjana Shilakaya Chakshurun Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. I was born in the darkest region of ignorance. I was. But my spiritual master has opened my eyes, blinded by that ignorance with the torchlight of transcendental knowledge. Therefore I must first offer obeisances to him. Jayatam Surutapangaur Mama Mandamatir Gati Matsarvasvapadambojo Radha Madana Mohano. In pursuance of what Vaisesika Prabhu was saying, there was a conversation between Srila Prabhupada and Jayadvaita before he became sannyasi. And Jayadvaita Prabhu asked Srila Prabhupada, we say that Krishna's pastimes are happening, like a roadshow in one universe after the other, one after the other. You've heard that before, yeah. So, in one universe, Krishna's speaking Bhagavad Gita. Yeah. So if we become purified, can we go to that universe where Krishna is speaking Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna? You remember this? So Srila Prabhupada said, what do you think? Yes. But why bother go to that other universe? You can hear it right here. It's just the same. So, as Vaisesika Prabhu was saying, we're getting that Chaitanya Charitamrita. Krishna spoke Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna. How long did that take? Yeah, hour 45. And the instructions he gave to Sanatana Goswami went on for long months. So this incredible information, incredible teachings, incredible directions are given there. We're very fortunate. And coming to Madan Mohan, it reminds me, last year I was very fortunate to be with Vaisesika Prabhu and many of you here also in Vrindavan. And they asked me to give class at the Vrindavan temple, Krishna Balaram temple, on Narottam Das Thakur's appearance day. So I was thinking, well, let me read all about Narottam Das Thakur and really have a really good class. And then I was thinking, well, let me check to review what Srila Prabhupada said about Narottam Das Thakur. And, there are many pastimes and things, but what Srila Prabhupada said about Narottam Das Thakur was very directed mostly about the prayers that he sang, that he composed. So then I was a little confused because some of those pastimes about Narottam Das, which certainly could be true, but I would have a hard time explaining them because they're very detailed and some parts of it are not easy to explain. So I decided I would ask my dear godbrother, Vaisesika Prabhu, he remembers this, what his suggestion would be about how to deal with all this information about Narottam Das Thakur. And he gave me some very good advice, which you may already know this stuff. You already know that you get good advice. He said, I only say what I'm really sure of, what I can really rely on. That's what I say in the classes. And I thought that was excellent advice, once again. And I took that to heart, and I tried to do the class that way. And I appreciated it so much. And that's the mood we also get here in Madan Mohan, because when Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, he was ordered to come to Vrindavan by Nityananda Prabhu from Bangladesh, I think it was. Yeah. And he came and he first took his permission to write Chaitanya Charitamrita right here. And then if you read in Chaitanya Charitamrita, he offers his obeisances for all the gurus Parampara, then Madan Mohan, then Govindaji, then Gopinath, all the devotees. There's a process. That process he's following. And not only that, if you see it in the beginning and regularly, his respect again and again to Das. Did you know that? Again and again, who was his predecessor in the Vyas of the pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then at the end of the chapter, what do you see?
Going out on that one.
Rupa Raghunath Pade Jar As Chaitanya Charitamrita Kahe Krishna Das. Now he could have just done that after one chapter, right? But okay. He could have made it shorter and not included that, but you find that Rupa, the Chaitanya time, the pastime of Vaiṣṇavas, who was. So then again, if you're reading Charitamrita, you have Srila Prabhupada's purports and the summary of each chapter or many of the chapters. You find the summary given, and also sometimes the process is given of the advice, good advice I got from Prabhu, and it's the advice that all the acharyas is giving. Of course, there was one instance where a devotee went to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and said, I'd like you to read my... And well, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu responded. He said, in a smiling way, you've given up your Swami? Oh, that makes... And he said it in a joking way, but still, so first, before speaking, as Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, we remember this, as Rupa Goswami, as Srila Prabhupada did, as Srila Bhaktisiddhanta did, digest and understand fully the instructions from your spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, and then take that and repeat that with your realizations, and that will be wonderful for you and for everybody involved. Hare Krishna.
From Madan Mohan temple, we're going to make our way to Imlital, and you go straight, take a left, then a right, then another right. You just go straight. And Totos are here. They're going to take us. Is that what it is? So we're going back down, and then just tell them you want to go to Imlital. Just one last point I want to make from the teachings of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to Sanatana Goswami was a verse that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu impressed upon Sanatana Goswami from the Srimad Bhagavatam. I haven't memorized the verse, but the verse says that when one becomes freed from the influence of the material nature, then one meets the devotees of the Lord. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comments in this section that the most important aspect of devotional service is the association of devotees. It's the devotees' association that inspires us to take to the path of devotional service. And this verse seems odd because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teaching is first you meet the devotees and then you develop a desire to go back to Godhead and to leave the material world. And the acharyas have commented on this verse and they say that it's a poetical device. When the effect is so powerful from the cause that sometimes in a verse they'll put the effect before the cause. And therefore this verse says that when you become ready to leave the material world, then you meet the devotees, means that the association of pure devotees, those who are following pure devotees in the process of parampara, is so powerful that they state the effect first. In other words, it's simultaneous. As soon as you meet devotees, and Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti comments that before you see the sun, as we're seeing now, you see the sunrise, meaning you see the world starts to look red. And he says, before you meet Krishna, you meet the Vaiṣṇavas. And if you've met Vaiṣṇavas, then you're going to meet Krishna. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu very emphatically says that the root cause of devotional service is association with devotees. So taking from our point yesterday that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave to Srila Rupa Goswami, the most effective way to make advancement in devotional service is to be meticulous about avoiding Vaiṣṇava apratihatā, to appreciate devotees and associate with devotees appropriately in giving one's respect, worship, and appreciation. Dear Srila Prabhupada, dear Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, dear Srila Sanatan Goswami, if you so desire, please give us the wherewithal to respect all Vaiṣṇavas. Thank you for considering our request. Om Tat Sat. Everyone agrees with this prayer and everything Vaiṣṇava Prabhu said. Please say Hare Krishna. Vanchkalpalurvascha kripasindhavevascha patitanam pavanibhyo Vaiṣṇavebhyo namo namaha. Go Premanande Hari Hari Bo. We'll all meet at Imli Tal.